I absolutely hate that the first video I have to make about NBA 2K19 is a negative one, because I'm not a super negative person. I'm not out to just get these games and complain about them every year. I generally want them to do well always, and that goes for both NBA 2K and Live, because the better the games, the happier everyone is. But as you all know, I'm a huge PlayNow Online fan, so in any given year, that's what I'm gonna play the most, more than likely these days. I've just gotten very used to online. It's kind of hard to go back offline once you've gotten used to that. And upon my first few hours with NBA 2K19's PlayNow Online mode, I am really irritated, because how hard... PlayNow Online should be the easiest mode. It should be the easiest mode to get right. There is nothing extra that you have to do. How difficult is it to just have two people connect, give them the team selection screen, let them choose who they want, and let them go head to head, just like they would if they were playing in real life? That's all you have to do. How hard is that? But this is not an entire video made to complain about the lack of a team selection screen, because I didn't expect one anyways. No, it's the fact that 2K made PlayNow an afterthought this year. Not only did they not improve it or fix what was broken last year, they fixed things that weren't broken and made it worse. So this is partly going to be a comparison video, because I want to show you in real time what they actually broke. So in NBA 2K18, it wasn't that long ago, we were getting online, and you go to PlayNow Online and you can just select whatever team you want. It shows you what tier the team is in, but you know, nonetheless, just pick whoever you want. And it's likely that you're gonna find another team in that tier, except there's a start button down low or an option for you to press start so that you can search outside of your tier if you want, because it got extremely repetitive and extremely boring playing the same exact classic teams matchups, and sometimes you just wanted to play, you know, maybe a classic team versus a current team or something like that. You wanted a different matchup. So you boot into 2K19, and the first thing you'll notice is not only are there still tiers, which has been a terrible system because they classify teams in the wrong tiers. Now they've separated it to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. At least when you first start, those are the tiers that you have. And they actually separate your search between tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. And the problem with that is there's only a couple of teams inside each tier. So in number 1, you have the Lakers, the Rockets, the Thunder, the teams that everyone thinks is going to be at the top. And most of the time, you can only play the teams inside of that tier. So it's like you're playing one of like 7 teams inside each. Now, that's not completely accurate all the time, because I actually did have some matchups where it puts you with a team outside of your tier, which is not something you used to be able to do that on your own, but now it's just at random. And that creates both a positive and a negative effect. I'll start with the positive. The cool thing about this is that when you do play outside of your tier, you get matchups that you never got last year. So one matchup that I've had so far is I played the 98 Spurs against the Bucks. And last year, since those teams were in different tiers, unless I just got lucky and I searched on my own, I never even came close to having that. Most of the time, even if I was searching on my own, I was always playing against the same team. So it's pretty cool, because that's the main reason I wanted team selection screens back anyways, is I wanted to play different matchups all the time so this mode doesn't get redundant. Now, the negative part about this is that I likened it to team selection, but it's a bootleg team selection screen, because you end up with matchups that are completely unfavorable. So one game I had last night that I didn't get to finish because the servers completely screwed that game up, but I was the 04 Timberwolves once I unlocked some of the historic teams, and I got matched with the 19 Bulls. What? That's completely unfair to the other guy. He didn't have a chance in hell of winning that game. The 19 Bulls are barely even slated to be a playoff team. Actually, they're not slated to be a playoff team. Meanwhile, the 04 Wolves have MVP Kevin Garnett and made it to the Western Conference Finals back then. Why are those two teams matched up? You know what, let me back up a second actually, because this is something else I was going to talk about anyways. Those teams, they're in the same tier. Who did that? Who made the tiers this year? So what happens is, after you get out of the freshman league, you unlock a couple of historic teams. You do not unlock them all, but you unlock a couple of them. and they are in tier 3. Now, I haven't gotten any farther than this, but I'm assuming that they actually did separate the historic teams. That's what it looks like this year. It looks like these are the tier 3 historic teams, and then there's going to be probably tier 2 historic teams and tier 1. That's my assumption, and I'll confirm that after I get there. But they're still wrong. They are still wrong. The 91 Lakers that made the NBA Finals, led by Magic Johnson, are in the same tier as the 19 Bulls. A team that made the finals is in the same tier as a team that is not slated to make the playoffs. Whose idea? And that's why at the beginning of the video, I called PlayNow an afterthought, because what they were trying to do is take suggestions that were given to them last year, because one of the things that we suggested as a community was that we have different tiers for classic teams, and if it turns out the way I'm thinking it's going to turn out, that's what they did. Now they've separated them because we all know that all classic teams are not equal. But why are some of these classic teams in the same tier as today's worst NBA teams? That makes zero sense. So while the tier system does make it so you're going to get a bunch of different matchups this year, because again, it seems like at random they match you with other teams from other tiers, now you're going to get put into terrible matchups that you would never pick. I'll give you an example. Last night I got matched up with the Bucks, so Antetokounmpo with the 98 Spurs. That's cool and all, because that's something that never happened last year, so you know, at least it's not redundant. But I would have never picked the 98 Spurs to play against them because it's a mismatch problem. Tim Duncan is a great big man and a great post defender. Tim Duncan is also not the guy that I want trying to stay in front of Giannis. As a matter of fact, they don't have anybody because they are a traditional post team, right? They got 2 big men down there. Then they got Will Perdue coming off the bench. That's not the team that I would have selected to try to play against the Bucks because Giannis is just running right past them every time. I would have picked somebody. I would have probably picked the Lakers, right? If the Bucks came up, I would have probably picked the Lakers so I could have LeBron try to guard him. I try to have Ingram, somebody who's more mobile. So long story short, they adjusted tiers this year to try to get you less redundant matchups when they could have just given us a team selection screen to let us play whoever we wanted, and that also probably wouldn't have been redundant either. Now let's get to the matchup screen because this whole thing just screams afterthought. Once you finally get matched up with an opponent, here on the right side they show you who you're playing, and then you have options. Whose idea? So you have your uniform, right? Your uniform selection screen, and that's where you can see what jersey your opponent is picking and what jersey you're picking. After you click off of that screen, you don't know if your opponent changed jerseys, so you guys could very well be using the same color. You know those guys who purposely pick white jerseys when you have a white jersey? You have to stay on the uniform selection screen until time runs out to make sure that doesn't happen. Where last year, as soon as you changed jerseys, it showed whatever your opponent was wearing right there, so that didn't happen as much. What even was the purpose of making uniform selection its own panel so that you guys can end up wearing the same color because after you clicked away, your opponent switched? Why fix it? It wasn't broken. Why mess with it? The lineup menu down here. Last year, whenever you clicked on lineups, you got a screen of the entire roster from top to bottom, so you could see who your opponent had, where they were arranged, and you could see how you matched up to that, and it was much more linear and it was very easy to see. Now you have to scroll up and down because they have it in this tiny box where you can't fit the whole roster. That's a very small detail, but that goes along with them fixing things that weren't broken. There was nothing wrong with it. The way it was, there was nothing wrong with it. So once you're all ready and you've gotten all your settings, instead of y'all just both pressing ready and having the time skip so you don't have to wait out the whole clock, you might want to go to change uniforms and wait out the whole clock to make sure you guys both aren't wearing white, because that's the only way you're going to know, otherwise it's going to catch you by surprise. So just a small note before I continue, I'm assuming there's going to be a patch to iron some of the things out in this game, and honestly I would wait until then to purchase the game. And once you do, I recommend 2Game, the sponsor of this video. They're an official digital retailer where you can buy legit game keys, support the publisher, and get games cheaper on great deals. One more change that they did need to make that I sincerely hope is patched whenever they do get around to that is now you can only pause 5 times online. So you guys remember pause cheese last year? If you watched me stream, you saw the guys who were using the Warriors, and every time they would zigzag with Curry and make a 3, they would pause cheese to piss you off. Yeah, you can't do that anymore because you only have 5 pauses. Now, here's what I feel about that. First of all, again, it's one of those things that you just don't fix when it's not broken. Pause cheese was annoying, but whenever somebody did it to me and I got revenge on them, I would do it to them, and that was just a friendly shit talk in the 2K culture, and it's been around forever. Like, since we couldn't replay anymore, I don't remember when they took replays off of online, But once they stopped that pause cheese became the way to talk shit to your opponent without a mic. Now they've adjusted that because I don't know if they were just attacking pause cheese directly or if they were trying to speed up the game, but this was a bad idea to me because I don't like it either when somebody takes forever to pause. But man, you only had like 2 minutes to pause anyways, so whatever adjustments you had to make throughout the game, whatever matchup settings, coach settings, you only had 2 minutes. You were already crunched for time. So now they have it where you have to not only use your time efficiently, but you can only use it 5 times in the game. That so far hasn't been a problem for me yet, but I'm one of the guys who play online who like to use some strategy. So throughout the game, I'm tweaking certain settings, I'm adjusting certain things. If the coach does something that I don't like, I have to adjust that. At a certain point in the game, I'm going to want manual substitutions, I need to adjust that. If somebody's getting left wide open and the tight coverage wasn't enough, maybe I need to go to deny ball. There's a lot of adjustments throughout a game that I'm trying to make to give me that edge. And now you can only do it 5 times. It's a change that just wasn't necessary. Don't fix what's not broken. That was not necessary to put a pause limit. We've never had a pause limit. We've had a pause time limit, which was just fine. Why add this? Just like everything else so far that I've discussed in PlayNow Online, why tinker with it? From NBA 2K18, PlayNow Online needed one addition. That's all it needed. It didn't need the screen to be messed with. It didn't need the settings to be in different places. It needed one change. The one thing we needed to change was just to give us the ability to see who we're matching up with so we can give ourselves the best chances to win. To see that if you are running into the Bucks where somebody's going to be using Giannis all game, I can have a mobile power forward that can stay in front of him and not a traditional big man team that has no chance of defending him. That's the only change it needed, but they decided to fix everything else that wasn't broken. So at this point, I'm very turned off by PlayNow Online, and I actually plan to stream today. That was the original plan. But then I got on last night and now it's like, okay, give me some time to figure this out first. Let me see what the team matchups are like. Let me see when I'm gonna have all the teams, because right now I don't even have all the teams. Let me see if I'm always gonna be confined to this tier thing, because one thing that happened is that once I won, because they give you goals, right? You're supposed to win, like if in the freshman league, they want you to win 1 game in every tier. And once I won a game in tier 1, I couldn't go back to tier 1. I had to go play tier 2 and tier 3, which again is okay because that lessens the redundancy and it makes you pick different teams, which is pretty cool. That could have been accomplished with a team selection screen though. I didn't need to be coerced into playing with different teams. Just give me the teams and I could have chose that myself. And at this point, it feels like 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards, because the actual gameplay of 19 so far has made changes in important parts. The passing, the layups, the jump shots. That's to be evaluated later because I have to play more of this game before I can say that actually changed for the better. But yeah, they've made some important changes, and it's just a shame that they fixed so many things that were not broken in PlayNow Online and have made this mode a lot less enjoyable than it already was. So yeah, if you haven't gotten your hands on 2K19 yet, I would definitely wait a couple of days until everybody has it, more reviews comes out, and then a patch comes, because I sense that a patch is gonna come and happens all the time. And once it does, just one more reminder that the official sponsor of this video, 2Game, can help you get the game for cheaper. As said before, they're an official digital retailer with legit game keys, and you can get the games cheaper instead of just pirating them, so you can actually support the publisher. As far as this video, that's it for today, but I do think I'm going to be streaming some 2K19 at some point this weekend, so make sure to follow me at twitch.tv/dom_2k. Hit the like button, comment, and sub if you enjoyed, and hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications on future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.